This is the Kerbal Space Center, and this is Incogni's logo. They sponsored the video, and I'll discuss that a bit more later. And the Kerbal Space Center is a familiar old sight to many, I'm sure, but what if we could enhance it, make it bigger, better, more spectacular? Well, there was a failed fan game called Kerbal Space Program 2 that attempted this, and it did a pretty solid job. We got Falcon 9 style landing pads, more launch pads, a harbour, bigger and better buildings, but sadly KSP2 is not a very good game. So it is up to us, the community, to see what we can do with Kerbal Space Program 1, and to that end, use the power of mods to make it all bigger and better. There are lots of custom Space Center mods out there, but I liked the look of Mirazowicz's KSC Enhanced, which adds 2 new launch pads, an extra runway, all the upgraded stock buildings and launch sites that you're familiar with, and it sports a seemingly occupied look. However, this mod requires Kerbal Konstructs, which is the core mod that allows all of this to kind of happen, as well as the building asset packs Omega's Stockalike structures and Tundra's Space Center, which add extra building models that are used to build out the Space Center. Now, given that we need quite a few dependencies to get Enhanced KSC working, I used CCAN. It's a mod manager that automatically installs mods and any required dependencies. I can fire it up here, select my KSP install. Oh, and CCAN also works for KSP2 if you're somehow inclined to play that game again, by the way. And we can search up KSC Enhanced in the little search bar. Then we can hit the install button, and then CCAN automatically brings up the other mods we'll need to get it working. It also suggests some other mods like Blue Dog Design Bureau, which is excellent, but we're going to leave all those suggestions unticked for now. I will play Blue Dog at some point in the future, I promise. I'm going to link the individual mods used in the description of this video, as well as the download page for CCAN, which has instructions on how to install it. It's super easy piece of cake. And after waiting 7 centuries for KSP to load, we can locate our save game, and then we can take a look at our new, improved, enhanced Kerbal Space Center. And isn't that just a sight to behold? It looks absolutely beautiful compared to stock Kerbal Space Program's Space Center. But yeah, look at that. We've got the Falcon 9 style landing pads to kind of the left of the runways. We've got 3 launch pads there. We've got the main kind of VAB complex in the middle with some little pools. Excellent. So this is the same save file I used at the beginning of this video when I was doing the little flying tour of what stock KSP's Space Center looks like. So we can go ahead and spawn that same jet and do a little fly around of KSC Enhanced. So some little hangar type structures on the left just there, midway up the runway. Very reminiscent of those hangars you get in the desert airfield of GTA San Andreas. I'm playing through that game again recently. Anyway, kind of not the point of this video. We have a fly around of the 3 launch pads of the Enhanced Kerbal Space Center. Got a lovely shot of those runways. We've got some little like taxiways / roads as well, intersecting them at 3 different points, making it look nice and realistic. We've got some wind turbines as well, and we have those 3 Falcon 9 style landing pads just there as a sort of very brief summary. Just noticed there's a couple of trees growing on one of the runways, which, not ideal, but I guess we could just say that runway has been out of commish for a while. We've just allowed nature to heal and to take back over that area of land. I don't know. Anyway, we are now going to fly away from the Kerbal Space Center and go to a place somewhat neglected by Kerbal kind, and that is, of course, the island runway, which sits abandoned. You can, launch craft from here, so technically it's still a functioning runway. But as we get closer and closer, you'll be able to get a good look at the buildings, or rather, what remains of the buildings on this island. It's a little bit broken. The tower's alright, but you can see the hangars, they're very rusty. There's holes in the roof. There's a structure there that's basically completely gone. So yeah, the island runway, I think for all intents and purposes, we could describe this entire site as abandoned. But with the power of Kerbal Konstructs, we can breathe life into this site once again, making it modern, sophisticated, and of course, secure. Almost as secure as my online data. Thanks to Incogni, who are sponsoring today's video. And I'm not just saying this for the ad. My family and I genuinely use Incogni because it really does keep our data safe. Data brokers collect your information from public records, social media, and even your shopping habits. Then package and sell it to advertisers, corporations, and sometimes people with far worse intentions. In the US, people search sites make it even more alarming by displaying your address, phone number, and court records to anyone who looks. Removing this data yourself would mean contacting each site repeatedly, an exhausting, impossible task, but Incogni handles it for you, reaching out to more than 230 data brokers, submitting removal requests, managing objections, and following up continuously. For sites outside the automated list, Incogni's custom removals tool lets you send additional takedown requests, helping keep your information away from scammers, cybercriminals, and anyone else with malicious intent. Identity theft, fraud, and online harassment all stem from stolen data, and with identity theft up 72% in 2023, it's only going to get worse. That's why I use Incogni, and why you should too. Click the link in the description and use code MATTLOWNE for 60% off their annual plan so you can take control of your data before someone else does. So we're going to get Bill Kerman, who, is our chief engineer, so that was a good lucky thing that he happened to be the pilot that spawned him when I loaded this craft onto the runway. I'm going to waddle him over here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to activate the Kerbal Konstructs UI by pressing Control K, and here it is here. It's very small. I'll play it at 4K, so it's not scaled well. I'll zoom in. Now, the left-hand box there is a list of all the static structures that we can spawn. So I've decided to spawn in this thing, which is the Squad Desert Airfield Tower Gizmo. Basically, at the desert airfield, there's this control tower, and that's it. We have now spawned it onto this abandoned site, so we now have a functional tower at the island runway. Yes. Now, as you can see, I'm just scrolling through. You can see all of the things. So we even have the Easter eggs here. So the category here, Squad Anomalies. These are all the Easter eggs that exist in Kerbal Space Program. So we can go ahead and spawn this thing, which is the Squad Original Anniversary. It's basically, it's sort of Bill Kerman hopefully will be okay. But basically, it's the Opportunity Rover or the Spirit Rover. They're both twins, aren't they? Here it is again. We can just raise it. So this thing spawns on Duna. I guess is this a spoiler alert for the Easter eggs in Kerbal Space Program? But there you go. We can load this in here. I mean, on reflection, this was probably the worst Easter egg I could have chosen to showcase the abilities of spawn Easter eggs. But whatever. Crossfading now to a slightly later point in time. I thought it might be nice to have some sort of vehicle assembly building that we can use on the island runway. So I decided to spawn in. Again, this is part of stock KSP. This is the level 1 vehicle assembly buildings when you start playing career mode. This is the first variant of the vehicle assembly building that you'll see. I thought this might be a good little fit for the island runway's aesthetic. The downside is it's kind of sitting on this great big green plane. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sink it down into the ground after we rotate it, obviously. Which you can do by kind of editing the numbers on the little editor there, or just use Q and E to rotate on the spot. And yeah, using the little mover tool, we can just sink it down so that kind of green patch that it sits on is fully covered by the island runway. And there we have a sort of a miniature-looking vehicle assembly building on the island runway site. Now, we could carry on building out a cool little base and have it all be functional with working launch pads and all that. I'll crossfade to a future point in time where I added a little launch pad to this site, but ultimately, and you might have figured this out yourselves by now, if we can place structures on Kerbin, we can place structures anywhere in the solar system. We could build a Mun base like this, like a proper one, a proper outpost with launch pads and a little in situ vehicle assembly building. Oh my goodness, what an opportunity. And so here we are in the vehicle assembly building a rocket that's going to get us to the Mun. Now, unlike some mods that allow you to build big outposts on the surface of different planets and moons, we don't need to bring any resources with us. We can basically land any sort of lander there with, of any size, get a Kerbal on EVA, and then just build everything without needing to expend any resources. So that's why we're going for a fairly small rocket. I did consider maybe building like a big mining rig with loads of drills and stuff, and then we could pretend that we're mining for the resources and generating them. That's how we're able to spawn the base in place. But honestly, I didn't want to take away from the showcase of the mod, Kerbal Konstructs, and indeed, the KSC Enhanced mod that kind of made it the first third of this video. So there's the lander there on screen. As you can see, this is a direct ascent vehicle. And I initially decided to just have this kind of dumb booster here that kind of just falls away and gets expended, like most of the rockets I build on this channel. But then I thought, hang on, we now have Falcon 9 style landing pads at the Kerbal Space Center. So let's have it able to land itself. Hence why I'm now adding a bit more fuel so it has the Delta V to not only get the first stage kind of in the air, but it also has enough fuel left over to get all the way back to the Kerbal Space Center. So here is the beast that's going to do this mission. Oh, a lovely day for a launch. Certainly one of the more picturesque launches I've done on this channel as of late, thanks to, of course, the now enhanced Kerbal Space Center. And there are those 3 Falcon 9 launch pads, or landing pads I should say, that we're going to try and aim for. And yeah, it's going to be quite difficult. Also, you might be wondering, hey Matt, why didn't you add landing legs to the first stage booster? And that's a really good question. Again, I didn't design this thing to be like a Falcon 9 style first stage where it lands itself. I did that at the very last minute, and then all I did was kind of added those steering fins, a bit like New Glenn, and air brakes and Werner engines and things like that. I just completely forgot about the fact we would probably need landing legs as well. I mean, that being said, we do have the Mammoth engine powering this thing, so even the biggest stock landing legs aren't big enough to extend below the engine bells. I guess I could use modded landing legs, but yeah, whatever. I'm trying to keep this video stock aside from the mod I'm specifically showcasing. So here we are about to get to a staging event. There we go. Now I put this thing on a very steep trajectory because I don't want to do the whole thing where you do a quick save, do one part of the mission, be it the landing of the booster, and then reload that quick save and then do the other part of the mission, always losing either the booster or the crew capsule. This is how you can do Falcon 9 in stock KSP without losing either the booster or the crew capsule. We put it on a really high trajectory so that during kind of the first phase of the booster boost back burn, the crew capsule will be safely coasting its way in space. It won't get despawned in the atmosphere. So now both vessels are in space. So yes, this is obviously incredibly inefficient, but it's the only way we can kind of get around the whole KSP will despawn vessels if they're in an atmosphere and separated from one another a certain distance. So yes, here we are doing the boost back burn. As you can see, we're not really heading towards the Kerbal Space Center. We're sort of ending up in that cove between the Cove launch site and the KSC. So I'm doing a little normal burn just here to change our inclinations. We're coming in nice and close to those Falcon 9 style landing pads. I'm pretty happy with this as an initial trajectory. In a second, we will need to switch to the crew capsule and quickly circularize because it is on a ballistic trajectory. So if we do our landing burn now, by the time we've done it, the crew capsule will have re-entered the atmosphere and will have been lost. So now we have switched vessels and we are going to do just that. So again, I didn't design this upper stage to do the flight like this, so it's kind of staged a bit weirdly. I probably would have, I probably basically, guys, should have done this from the get-go rather than just retroactively, oh, let's just do a Falcon 9 first stage at the very last second. So, yeah, but, you know, we're not leaving any debris in space. Just seems a bit of a shame that kind of our second stage is getting expended. Although I guess that is similar to the Falcon 9 and indeed like Neutron and New Glenn at the moment and stuff like that. So not totally a million miles away from a real-world version of this. And we've got to quickly switch back to the booster before it re-enters the atmosphere. Or 80 kilometers. So yeah, 10 kilometers of safety room there. So now it's just going to be a case of trying to get our trajectory as close to those Falcon 9 style landing pads as possible. I don't know why I've got so much debris in space, by the way. This is my Lowne Aerospace 3 save file, where I'm always really mindful to deorbit stuff. So I'm not quite sure why I've got so much debris there, so I'll be disabling the debris view in the map screen at some point, and I'll deal with this at some point in the future, like how to get rid of all this debris. I might just cheat it out, to be honest, because unless anyone is willing to point it out in the comments which video I happen to leave an enormous amount of debris in space, I think this might just be a glitch. Like, I'm aware if you ditch stages and their periapsis isn't sufficiently low enough in the atmosphere, the game will just stick them on a 70-kilometer orbit around Kerbin, I think. I'm not sure. But I feel like that seems to be the case here. I've got so many things in low Kerbin orbit that really shouldn't be there. Anyway, in order to steer us back to those landing pads, we have the kind of wing pieces. We've also got the air brakes, which you can use to kind of act as a steering mechanism, a bit like the Falcon 9 grid fins and indeed the Starship grid fins. So you can kind of right-click the air brakes. I assumed I was going to do that now because the cursor was hovering over them, but I guess not. Oh, maybe I never do in this video. To be honest, guys, this wasn't the first take. So, yeah, okay, it looks like I never did that then. But you can have the air brakes kind of act a bit more like the grid fins on Starship and Falcon 9, where you can use them to steer rocket stages back to wherever you want to land them, which in this case is this landing site here. And, oh, you've not got that much delta V left, less than 200 meters per second. And we've got to come down extremely gently because we're landing on engine bells, and we have to make sure we're definitely landing on the flat landing pad surface. So let's see. Oh, we have 2 meters per second of delta V remaining, and I think this is close enough to say that we landed on the landing pad. Didn't quite hit the center, but I think it took me a while, guys, to get that landing right. So I'm sticking with it. That's the landing. Hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, of course, remember to leave a little like on the video down below. And yes, with that, let us continue with the mission. So this is kind of the boring phase of the mission, right? Because this is just like a bog standard going to the Mun type thing. But we have the anticipation of knowing that when we get there, it's going to be extra special. So I couldn't be bothered to make a maneuver node, to be honest. So in case you don't know, if you look at the kind of gameplay screen, so not the map screen, when you're going around Kerbin, when the Mun pops out from behind Kerbin, if you do a prograde burn right there and then, it will guarantee put you on a kind of course that's going to get you an encounter with the Mun. So that's the lazy way of going to the Mun if you wanted to. Or if you're playing an early version of KSP for some reason where maneuver nodes didn't exist, then that's also how you get to the Mun. So here we are at the Mun. I guess looking down, we do have a rover base there, so I could have used the crew from that to place the vessel, place the colony, but whatever, I feel like it's a bit more complete. Having a dedicated mission going to the Mun, otherwise I feel like this video might have come across as a bit sort of phoning it in, so to speak. I don't know. And of course, we had to showcase those Falcon 9 style landing pads, didn't we? So I guess I should shut up sometimes, shouldn't I? And just let the video do the talking for me. As you can see, I was just basically eyeing the ground, trying to find somewhere reasonably flat. So the colony pieces we can place, they all have these like platforms that they're on, which do have some depth, so they can be clipped into kind of uneven terrain to make a nice smooth surface. But it's not that thick, so you do want to be building things in a relatively flat area. Now, I must admit, this is not a tutorial. I say this a lot, don't I? This isn't a tutorial for Kerbal Konstructs, because there's this YouTuber called Bogue, really good, by the way. Check him out, subscribe. He's already done a really good tutorial on Kerbal Konstructs, so I'll just put a link in the description, and if I remember, there's a card on screen right now that just takes you to his video explaining how you'd build things in Kerbal Konstructs. It's much more comprehensive. I don't want this to be the tutorial because the first 10 minutes were me not doing Kerbal Construct tutorial stuff, and then there was me doing this mission. It's not a great format for a tutorial video. It's way too waffly and long, drawn out. So go look at Bogue's video if you want an actual tutorial for Kerbal Constructs. I'll still talk through the basics of what I'm doing, but if it goes a bit of your head because I've put it through time-lapse or whatever, it's because I didn't want the focus of this to just be like a tutorial for Kerbal Constructs, because I'd probably get things wrong as well. I'm not really the best ambassador when it comes to showing people how to use mods, because I invariably always mess up some aspect of using them. So anyway, we have Bob Kerman out on EVA, and I'm just sort of doing a bit of a scout mission here, trying to find somewhere that would be a good spot for our base. I really liked the idea of having it in this crater. So now it's going to make us let me try that again. It's now just going to be a case of finding a nice flat spot to construct the base. And ignore the tower in the background there. That was a test build I did. Speaking of test builds I did, we've now jumped forward in time. An hour forward in time. Here is the base I have built. It's really great. We've got this vehicle assembly building, a launch pad, a runway, and up. And then KSP then crashed. And I lost everything. So now we got to start again. So just showing that to showcase, guys, I didn't want my like hour of work to like go to waste. So that was my first attempt at building a Mun colony. Now you're going to watch my second attempt, and you'll notice throughout this build I press the save button multiple times. So yeah, now you've seen the first attempt at a colony base. See how it compares to my second attempt to see which one you prefer. I do think the second attempt came out better, to be honest, so you can be the judge. I'm starting off, I built a little vehicle assembly building just there, and we've got this kind of Atlas 5 launch tower style thing, an integration building type thing. I thought it would be serve as a nice sort of launch tower to go next to the launch pad, which is not built yet. I'm building a landing pad now. In fact, I'm going to build 3 landing pads, I think I ended up doing. One of the nice things you can see from this mod, well, this is specifically the OSS mod that adds these parts here, which again is linked below. These are like landing pads, but they have these like hexagon shapes. In fact, all the parts from the OSS pack have these hexagon shapes pretty much, so it's really easy to kind of line up the tiles and make sure they're kind of all, well, I guess lined up. So that's kind of the first bit. Now I'm going to add a small road. Not because we need to drive around, that would be ludicrous, but this can serve as a runway. I did try adding the desert airfield runway and see if I could recolor it, because a lot of the pieces in kind of, well, a lot of pieces in Kerbal Constructs, be it the stock parts or modded parts like from OSS, which is what I'm placing here, things can be recolored. And I was hoping maybe I could recolor the desert kind of texture to be grey so it blends in with the mun. Sadly, it couldn't be recolored, but what a lovely thought, hey? So now I've added this roadway instead that can serve as like an SSTO runway. I've added these two, well, not those two, they were placed by mistake, but I added those two big hangars there that you can see on the left, as well as these three little hangars just here, which I think are also present on the enhanced KSC back home on Kerbin. So there we are, so that's kind of the SSTO runway landing complex, and also we have our 3 landing pads. Next thing I added was this little control tower. I wanted it to have a good panoramic view of not just all 4 landing zones, you know, the 3 vertical landing pads and the horizontal runway, but also I wanted to have a clear view of the vertical launch pad, which I've not built yet, but you can see where it's going to go, right in between the Atlas V style launch tower and the vehicle assembly building. Next thing I'm adding is not this, I just wanted to see what this piece was and deemed it way too big. So here we are adding the launch pad here. So this is the Hex vehicle spawn. I'm just going to place it in now. By default, this won't serve as a launch pad we can use. I'll have to go and manually set that up, but you'll see me do that when I do it. For now, I'm just sort of placing it, getting everything looking aesthetically quite nice. And I think it's coming together really well so far. Next thing I'm adding, as you can see, is a miniature kind of version of the Kerbin vehicle assembly building. What's it called? Mission control building. So I've added that there. Very close to the launch pad, you'll know, but obviously there is no sound in space. The big threat on Earth, obviously, is like for the Saturn V. The vibrations would just shattered the building. I mean, it shook the glass of mission control as it was on its first launch, and, you know, that mission control building was a very, very long way away. Having it this close would be very dangerous for the occupants inside. But we're in space, so there's no sound. Well, I guess there is in Kerbal Space, we're going to be fair, but ignoring that. And we're going to be launching much smaller vessels compared to things like your Starships, your Saturn Vs. So there shouldn't be a giant flame that's going to just burn everything. I guess it is still quite close, isn't it? But, whatever. Looks good. You know? Okay, so next thing we're adding is an observatory, just because I feel like we can take advantage of the fact there is no atmosphere on the Mun. So a telescope here, we'll get a great view of the night sky compared to the night sky. I guess it's just the sky, isn't it? I guess the Mun does have day and night, to be fair, but whatever. And then I added this little SpaceX-style horizontal integration facility just to kind of block off the other side of the vertical vehicle assembly building. So as you can see, there's like a big vertical door on either side, but obviously there's only one launch pad on one side. So I kind of blocked off the other exit with like a horizontal thing, so they could open up the other side just to wheel in something from the horizontal integration area. You get it, right? I also added this little control tower clipped into the vehicle assembly building. You can change the scale of the parts, basically. So I scaled up the small control tower to make a giant kind of crow's nest on top of the vehicle assembly building to sort of act as a secondary what's it called, like air traffic control channel. Is it air traffic control when it's in space? Probably not. Vacuum traffic control, let's say. And then I just liked this tower. Don't really have any reason to justify adding it, but I thought it just looked nice having that big tall thing there. And that, I think, is yes, it is. I'm making the save file now. So yes, the colony is built. Do you think I did better the second time around? You have to let me know in the comments. But of course, now that we have a colony built with proper landing pads and everything, it would be silly to leave this lander just stuck there on some Mun rock on the verge of tipping over. So we can now hop our Mun lander over to the new colony and land it on one of the brand new landing pads, sorry. Well, I say one of the brand new landing pads. One of the brand new landing pads that inexplicitly already has scorch marks from previous landings. But there we are. Oh, overshot ever so slightly, but with the power of course correcting, we can set this thing down safe and sound. And do not worry, guys, I'm not just going to be a tease. We will be launching a vessel from the Mun to celebrate the completion of not just the vehicle assembly building on the Mun, but also, more importantly, the launch pad and I guess the mission control facility, things like that. Although I guess technically there are no Kerbals here apart from the 3 Kerbals here. You've got Valentina Kerman, Malfield Kerman, Bob Kerman I've got as well. They're the only 3 to crew this incredibly large launch complex. So maybe we just pretend there are Kerbals here, or maybe we just pretend that it's basically all automatable, or maybe I'll have to do another video to follow this one up, landing a colony ship here to bring the crew that's going to crew this place. Yeah, I don't know. Should it be an SSTO? Should it be a vertical lander? Let me know in the comments below. I mean, just trying to do a mental head count here. How many Kerbals should crew a facility like this? I mean, if this was on Earth, or Kerbin in this case, I feel like it would probably employ many people, at least 14. But maybe if it was on the Mun, you would have a smaller crew. I mean, looking at the mission control, that would probably be at least 50 people in there. And then maybe like 17 in each of the little buildings. And then the VAB, we have 50? 25? I don't know. We'll have to think it through. Oh, I was talking over it. Okay, so we're going to now make this a Mun launch site. So I selected the Hex vehicle spawn. I made it a launch site, and now you can see I'm naming it Launchpad Mun Alpha, and I gave it a little description that says start at the Mun LMAO. And so, let us now start at the Mun LMAO. Ignore the background. We are in the vehicle assembly building on the Mun, right? Just ignore the background. It's fake. It's green screen. You know, people say that America faked the Mun landings. Well, here you can see me faking the Kerbin landing. We're starting on the Mun. We need to get to Kerbin, guys, for the first time. So this is already the lander. As you can see, a rocket that goes from the Mun to Kerbin is substantially smaller than a rocket that goes from Kerbin to the Mun. Blink and you miss it, but I clicked the Kerbal Konstructs thing, selected Launchpad Mun Alpha, and then activated the launchpad for 0 funds, because playing in science mode, not career mode, and there we are, Jebediah Kerman, Lubert Kerman, and another one whose name I didn't read in time before the screen changed, are touched down on the Mun. But 2 of them are going to disembark, one of them being Lumbert Kerman, the other one being Joport. I missed the name again. I saw it began with J-O. Because Bob and Valentina are here on the surface of the Mun. And I don't like leaving the 3 big celebrity Kerbals, you know, Jebediah, Bill Kerman, Bob Kerman, Valentina Kerman, stranded. I shouldn't use the word stranded, right? But away from home for prolonged periods, basically. So I want to bring those 2 Kerbals back. So I've replaced them with Jotop Kerman. There we are. The other Kerbal I've already forgotten the name of. And then we can get Valentina Kerman out of her lander here and get her on board the magnificent, the grand, my magnum opus of design, Mun return ship. Although I guess it's not a return ship. It was built here. It was a test vehicle. This was a test vehicle of our new launch facility. And there we are. We have it's not quite as dramatic, is it, as my liftoffs from Kerbin. There we are. We are taking flight. Oh, accidentally pressed F3 there. And we are now clear of the rim of the crater. This is a horribly inefficient flight. I'm sorry, guys. But as you can see, we are now just well on our way back home. So I guess there we go. We can wave goodbye to the colony I built. And I must say, I think I do. In a way, I'm kind of glad my game crashed, because I do think my second round attempt at building a kind of Mun colony came out a lot better than the first attempt. What a lot of people like to do is build roadways around their bases, and I thought about doing that, but I couldn't really be bothered. It's a bit fiddly to do that, and also I feel like we wouldn't have roadways, right? They would just walk around in their spacesuits. Or, you know, the rovers, they can just drive around the complex. They don't need, like, road markings and stuff, because they're piloted only by the finest of space frogs. So, yeah, is there anything I should talk about before this video concludes? Because I'm just eyeing my editing timeline, and we are rapidly approaching the end of the video. But yeah, what else? Is there anything you guys would like to see me do with the Kerbal Konstructs mod? Are there any kind of asset packs that kind of add static structures that you think would work well in my save file, or at least, you know, complement my style of gameplay / video editing / content, whatever? Let me know in the comments below. I'm kind of new to the whole Kerbal Konstructs thing, so yeah, looking forward to hearing some feedback there. Next week, I'm thinking of doing a Christmas special video. I was thinking of visiting the little snowman that's on Easter egg. That's on Elu. It's an Easter egg on Elu. It's a snowman. I already butchered that, didn't I? But now I've rehearsed saying that sentence. I'll be primed to be discussing it in the next video if I end up doing that. So make sure you're subscribed if you want to see that. And of course, I have to once again thank our amazing sponsor, Incogni. They've supported me for years. They have done so much good for not just me, but other channels as well. So definitely check them out. Click the links below. I do genuinely use the service. And of course, massive thanks, of course, to the names on the right side of the screen, my Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members who got ad-free version of this video. I should have said that earlier, but you can watch this video without ads